Mack Ritenour is an American jazz guitarist, session musician, and composer. Ritenour has contributed to over 3,000 sessions, and has charted over 30 contemporary jazz hits since 1976. Biography: Ritenour was born January 11, 1952 in Los Angeles, California. He played his first session when he was 16 with the Mamas and the Papas and given the moniker, Captain Fingers, because of his manual dexterity on the guitar. Ritenour was a sought-after session guitarist by the mid-1970s, and won Guitar Player magazine's Best Studio Guitarist twice in the 1970s. He is noted for playing his red Gibson ES-335 and his Gibson L5 guitars. One of his most notable influences is the pioneering jazz guitarist Wes Montgomery, among others like Joe Pass, Kenny Burrell and John McLaughlin. His prolific career includes a Grammy Award for the collaborative work Harlequin, and 19 other Grammy nominations. Ritenour also holds the distinction of having two of the promotional videos for his songs Is It You? And Mr. Briefcase being played during MTV's First Day. Ritenour has been at the top of many guitar polls throughout the world. Throughout his career, Ritenour has experimented with different styles of music. A true fusionist, he has often incorporated elements of funk, pop, rock, blues, Brazilian and most recently with Ampero, classical music with jazz. In the early 1980s, Ritenour was given his own Ibanez signature model guitar, the LA-10. The LA-10 was produced from 1981 to 1987. It can be heard exclusively on his album Rit. Currently, Ritenour plays the Gibsons that he first played in the 1970s, and now also plays his signature Lee Ritenour Model Art top guitar made by Gibson. Style: Ritenour's solo career began in 1975 with a recording of his album First Course. Released in 1976, the album gave a strong representation of the mid-1970s LA jazz-funk sound. Critics did, however, complain that his first album was lightweight. So Lee countered this with his strongly crossover-based follow-up, Captain Fingers. This was followed by two more crossover efforts, The Captain's Journey and Feel the Night. On these albums, Ritenour primarily used something of a rich, yet rock-oriented distorted guitar sound, coming from his Gibson ES-335 guitar. In other instances on these albums, clean sounds were heard coming from his Gibson L5 and classical acoustic guitars. In the 1970s, Ritenour would often use effects like wah-wah, phasers, chorus, and flangers on his electric instruments. Also, during the late 1970s, Ritenour can be heard using the 360 Systems guitar synthesizer. He can be heard using the synthesizer on the track Captain Fingers, and can also be heard playing solo with the synthesizer on the song, What Do You Want? From the Captain's Journey. In 1979, Ritenour was brought in to beef up one of Pink Floyd's The Wall's heaviest rock numbers, Run Like Hell. He also played uncredited rhythm guitar on one of My Turns. As the 1980s began, Ritenour began to add stronger elements of pop to his music, beginning with Rit in 1981. For this, he kept with his distorted sound, now using his Ibanez LA-10 signature model guitar. One of tracks from Rit, entitled, Is It You, featuring vocals from Eric Tagg, became a hit, reaching number 15 on the pop chart and number 27 on the soul chart. He continued with the pop-oriented music for 2 albums after it, while releasing a slick, yet more crossover-styled, direct disc instrumental album in 1983 called On the Line. He also provided rhythm guitar on Tom Brown's hit, Funkin' for Jamaica. In 1985, he recorded his first album for GRP with Dave Grusin, entitled Harlequin. It featured Lee primarily on his classical acoustic guitar and also featured Brazilian singer-songwriter Ivan Lins. Up to this point, this album along with Rio arguably gave the strongest representation of Lee's Brazilian influences. The following year, 1986, Ritenour released the album Earth Run, which featured him using the then newly designed Syntax guitar. He used 9 different guitars on the album, most notably the Syntax, his Valley Arts guitar, and his Gibson Chet Atkins acoustic. The album also featured longtime collaborator Phil Perry for the first time, on the track If I'm Dreaming, Don't Wake Me, a song also featuring David Foster and Maurice White. He also produced songs and played guitar on Denise Williams's LP Hot on the Trail during that same year. Ritenour continued in a direction strongly featuring other artists in 1987, with Portrait. The album itself has something of a strong smooth jazz sound, and Ritenour can be heard here playing with the Yellow Jackets, Jovan, and Kenny G. In 1988, his smooth jazz-influenced Brazilian music came to the forefront with Festival another album strongly featuring his work on nylon string acoustic guitars. The following album, Color It, continued with a similar mood. He did, however, change direction completely again with his straight-ahead jazz album Stolen Moments. Sounding similar to Wes Montgomery, Ritenour played alongside longtime collaborator, saxophonist Ernie Watts, pianist Alan Broadbent, bassist John Patitucci and drummer Harvey Mason. Continuing in a Wes Montgomery mood, Ritenour paid tribute to the man himself in 1992, with his album Wes Bound. The album featured a number of covers of Montgomery compositions, as well as some seemingly tributary pieces from Ritenour himself. Also seen in this decade was a 1994 collaboration album with guitarist Larry Carlton called Larry and Lee. In 1991 Lee Ritenour, together with keyboard player Bob James, formed the Grammy-nominated contemporary jazz group 4Play. Lee left the hugely successful group in 1998 to continue with his own solo works. He was replaced by Larry Carlton. 2002 saw the release of his album, Rit's House. In February 2004, Ritenour completed a project looking back on his career involving musicians he has worked with throughout his career called Overtime. Overtime was recorded live in a studio in front of a small audience. It was released in early 2005, and is currently available as a singular audio CD, double DVD set or singular HD DVD. Some of the musicians featured include Dave Grusin, Patrice Rushen, Harvey Mason, Alex Acuna, Taylor Dane, Nathan East, Chris Botti, Anthony Jackson, Melvin Lee Davis, and Ernie Watts, amongst many others. His album entitled Smoke and Mirrors was released in late August 2006. His son Wesley makes his debut appearance as a drummer on the album at the age of 13. This album contains Ritenour's version of Bill Withers' 1978 hit Lovely Day. Ritenour joined the 10th and 11th Annual Independent Music Awards judging panel to assist independent musicians' careers. He was also a judge for the 8th and 9th Independent Music Awards. In June 2010, in order to celebrate his 50 years as a guitarist, Lee Ritenour released the album Six String Theory. The album featured famous guitarists such as Steve Lukather, Neil Schon, John Scofield, Slash, Pat Martino, Mike Stern, George Benson and B.B. King, but also younger players such as Andy McKee, Joe Robinson and Guthrie Govan. Ritenour, Yamaha Corporation, the Berklee College of Music, Concord Records, Monster Cable, and Didgeridoo Strings collaborated to create the 2010 Yamaha Six String Theory Guitar Competition. The winner of that international competition, that included guitarists from over 45 countries, was 16-year-old Canadian classical guitarist Sean Bubble. The competition in 2011 is continuing. Discography, with 4Play, 1991, Between the Sheets, 1993, Elixir, 1995, The Best of 4Play, 1997, As Sideman, Brass Fever, Time is Running Out, Brass Fever, Free Ride, Dizzy Gillespie, Mind Transplant, Alphonse Mouzon, The Man Incognito, Alphonse Mouzon, Roller Coaster, Lalo Schifrin, The Wall, Pink Floyd, Geez, Karamata, Awards, 1986 Grammy Award for Best Arrangement on an Instrumental with Dave Grusin for Early AM Attitude from Harlequin, 2010 Jazz's Magazine, Album of the Year, 2011 Echo Award, Best International Instrumentalist, References. External links, Lee Ritenour official site, Lee Ritenour Guitar Licks.